Hallelujah.
Say that again, girl. Go ahead.
I started my own brand, Jazz Talks Law. And the purpose of Jazz Talks Law, to be very frank with you guys, to get more people that look like me into law school. Not just into law school, but help you guys succeed in law school. So that's why I'm happy you guys turned out today. Everyone here is in law school, right? Woo, that's half the battle. So today we just want to have a discussion more so on some things that I think you guys should know while you're in law school, things you should be doing, some things that I didn't do when I was in law school and that I am trying to get people to do while they're in law school. So I have a great panel here. These are my guests from different law schools. They recruit for their law schools, but they also graduated from law school and are attorneys themselves. So I want to introduce these guys. And we'll start with Ms. Tabitha.
All right. Hello, everyone. Tabitha Elegant. I graduated from Emory Law School in 2014. So I'm a practicing attorney here in Atlanta. I do a little personal injury, wrongful death, but more importantly, I work at Emory Law School where I'm an admissions advisor, and so I want to recruit African Americans to go to law school, but I am glad that you guys are already in law school, and we can talk about any networking opportunities and wonderful things that we can do here in the city of Atlanta.
Hey everyone, my name is Brandy Russell. I graduated from Cumberland School of Law in Birmingham, Alabama, and I currently work at Savannah Law School as an admissions counselor.
Hi, my name is Jenna Jackson. I am a graduate of the University of Georgia School of Law. I graduated in 2014. I practiced for a short amount of time, and now I'm assistant director of admissions in our admissions office.
Great. So we've heard a little bit about them, but let's find out a little bit about you guys. So how many 1Ls do we have? Yes. 2 Ls, 3 Ls, and attorneys. So first thing I want to talk with you guys more about is your classroom performance. I think I was told as a 1L that, oh girl, just get you some C's and you'll be fine. Meanwhile, there were some people that don't look like me that were told, you get an A. That's not okay. And that's not the approach that I think we should be given. Everyone should be striving for A's. Yeah, only maybe 5 people can get the A, as they say. But that's something that we all should be striving for and not just people that don't look like us. So I want to talk with our panelists and have them discuss some of the tips and things that they did when they were studying for their class. For me, one of my hardest classes was constitutional law. Anyone else? I was lost the entire semester. It didn't make sense, I swear. It did not make sense until the week before the final. And thank God I got it together. But I had to come to myself. I had to go to second and third year students that took the class and took it successfully, meaning they got an A, and figure out what they did. And I had to put in the work. But one quick story for me, I remember there was like 4 nights in a row I could not sleep. Like I had insomnia. And my husband now, he was at my apartment with me while I was doing this class. And it was like 3 in the morning, and I was just rocking on the side of the bed because I couldn't sleep because it was just that stressful. And at that time, I wasn't reaching out to anyone to help me succeed in that class. So that's why I want to ask these students, these attorneys and recruiters about some tips and different things that they would suggest for studying for some of the classes, because I know you might have midterms coming up for finals with some peers before you know it.
All right. You starting?
Yes.
All right.
My Hampton grad.
Of course. So some great tips, I think, and I'm pretty sure everybody has a lot of great advice. One thing that I used was the examples and explanations. So I did not understand contracts. That was my thing. I did not know what was going on in contracts. I mean, it made a little sense. I mean, I knew offer acceptance, but after that, couldn't get much out of me. And so what I did was did examples and explanations, the book. I read it. They explained it a little better, and so I got a holistic view of the subject, so I was better able to analyze it on the test. Now, even on the final, I did not know what was going on, but I wrote what I read in the E&E, and that's how I got a great grade. So those are the type of things that you should do. You have to do extra, go far above and beyond sometimes than your other classmates. So reading an outline, reading for class, might not just quite do it, but go above and beyond, get some examples and explanations. And like Jasmine said, talk to some 2Ls and some 3Ls because they've been where you're trying to go, and they can definitely offer great advice.
Great.
That's all great advice. Just in addition, I earned my best grades in the classes that I made best friends with the professors with. So I think it's very important for you to go off on your own and read other materials. However, I don't know if it's the same at your school, but at my school, sometimes my professor was just hung up on consideration. And although the E&E explained everything else, our 2 essays would be solely on consideration. I only knew that because I was in the professor's office at least once a week. And it's not just, going in there and asking what's on the exam. It's telling him or her, okay, I don't understand this, doing a little bit of your own research and saying, this is what I found, this is what I think about this case or about this formula, whatever it may be, and get their feedback. And oftentimes you can get a hint at what is your professor's niche that way. Sometimes you just have to trick the system. That's how I made my best grades, by going and speaking with my professors, because at the end of the day, he or she is grading that essay. And so if I tailor my essay to what he or she likes, then that's only going to help me.
I think the biggest tip that helped me probably is, even if you have an outline, which they're out there, they've been out there for years, you still need to either rewrite it or make it, or just studying an outline is not sufficient. If you have got to write it, type it, highlight it, mark it up, you got to know it. And the classes that I was so excited to find, an outline from the same teacher a year ago, gold. And I just studied it. I didn't do as well as the classes where I either made my own or took the original and kind of made it my own. So you can't cut corners. That's just the way it is. And so that would be my advice to you.
I was having this like hallelujah moment over here. To piggyback off that, to give a great example. So my first year of law school, I was crazy, and crazy in a good way. I made my own torts outline, and I called it my tort Bible. Literally, my torts professor, he would review any practice test that we did. He had like a list of like maybe 20 different practice tests from previous exams, and he would post them, and we on our own could go and do those practice tests. And this kind of ties into our next topic. So I would do those practice tests, take it to him. He would literally mark it up, and like she said, he would tell me, this is how I want you to say this, this is how I want you to say that. So I took all those practice tests and things that I did, and I made my torts Bible. So basically, it was a canned answer, and I think everybody at Mercer Balsa thanks me now. It's a 20, 30-page torts Bible, and it's filled with canned answers. So there's a canned answer for wrongful death. If there's an issue with your fact pattern that talks about wrongful death, I already had a canned answer for that. So literally, I was just filling in the blanks. I had so many canned answers for any, torts. There's so many possible things you can talk about. I don't remember one of them now, but there's so many different things you can talk about that there were so many canned answers that I came up with. And when it came time for the exam, thank God we could use our notes in our torts final exam. So I was able to take that 20, 30-page canned answer. And literally, I'm typing, like, just jigging, like, just happy because I prepared. But the issue with that, and what she was saying is, once I finished my torts class, got my A, and went on, there was 2Ls and 3Ls that came behind me because at our BASA, we provide our outlines in the next class. They would take my outline, but they wouldn't tailor it to their needs. You might read my canned answer and be like, what does she mean by this? And if you're doing that during the exam, you're going to fail. You need to be doing that prior to the exam, like, Jackie, what did you mean by this blank or whatever? And then take that and tailor it to your own needs so that you can understand it and you can be jigging right through your exam when that time comes. So I definitely agree with all the advice that was just given. Are there any questions so far?
I have a question. How important do you all feel that it is to go and discuss your exam with your professor once you get it back? Is that something that you guys did or would recommend doing?
Great question.
I did that with professors, especially whom I would have the part 2 of their class the next semester. So contracts, civil procedure for me.
I'd say a bar class.
Yeah, any bar class, like Jenna said, you do want to get that feedback, because if you have them begin second semester, or if it's a bar class, you're going to need to know that information and need to know it well. And if you're very interested in that area, I was really interested in contracts at one point, so my contracts professor was my home. But yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So the next thing that I want to talk about, and which kind of segues into this, is final exams, and talking more about that. Because once you start studying for final exam, it all just turns up a notch. It's already turned up day one, but when you are like, okay, my final is in 2 months, let me really like buckle down, that's a whole different conversation. So I want to talk more about that, and when did you guys start preparing for final exams? So let's say fall semester, day one is like what, in August, September. So at what point in the semester did you say, okay, let me start thinking about final exams and what I'm going to do to prepare?
Day one right now, yeah. Well, at Georgia, your final exam is your grade in the class. We don't have midterms or anything like that. So you need to be paying note taking, briefing, and ideally outlining. But we all know we don't outline from the first day. But ideally, from day one with that lens, because if you don't, you can miss the forest for the trees, because you can get bogged down in something like very obscure fact pattern or one rule, and that's not the purpose of the law. That's not how you practice. That's not how the final is. And so I think if from the outset you're thinking about your final, you can read a case like Pinoy or Neff and be like, okay, well this, I'm pretty sure that gets overruled by international you can frame it right. So you have a takeaway, but you move on. And I think that's kind of the best way to attack class preparation in those final things.
I agree. I gave myself 3 weeks from the start of class just to have enough material to begin outlining. But for every class, almost every first year class, I did outline starting 3 weeks in, just because I knew at my law school we only had that 1 grade, which came from our final, so it was make or break it. And we heard horror stories of break-ins, so
You started in
you're
October.
investing. Yeah, you're starting in October. You're gonna burn out. There's no time.
I agree.
No, everything they said was great. And so if there's someone here, what is this? This is February. February already. So we're what, like 2-3 weeks back into school now? 2 or so weeks? Yes? No? Oh, you're a little deeper. Okay. Well, so if you're about 4 weeks, okay, I'm just completely, I would just erase law school from my mind in so many ways. But so at this point, this is the time definitely, if you haven't already, to get started thinking about your outlines. And just a few tips for you guys. Something that one of my big sisters did for me as a 1L, we sat down together, and this is something that I do through Jazz Talks Law, by the way. We sat down and we created a whole calendar for me, like literally 31-day calendar for each month. And I knew what I needed to study every single day from the beginning, like August 31st, whenever school started and I got my big sister. We sat down, and so this day I knew I was outlining.